In this video, I'm going to show you how to measure the current and the voltage in a circuit. So start off by building your circuit, and the first one we'll do is we'll measure the voltage. So to measure voltage, you need to use a voltmeter. So it's got a V on it. Now the voltmeter, how you want to set it up, there's a positive end, and a negative end. So you want to, whenever you measure voltage, you measure voltage across something. So you're measuring the difference in potential energy per coulomb. So let's look here. What I can do, notice what I'm doing is I'm putting a clip on either side of the battery. Now my positive terminal I think you can see it down here. My positive terminal has to be closest to my positive terminal of the battery. If you have it the wrong way, you'll notice the little needle will actually try to go negative. So if that's the problem that you're running into, just switch up the two leads. So you have one over here, and then one over here. And you'll notice they'll flip around and it'll give you an accurate reading. But whenever you're measuring voltage, you want to measure it across. So see how I set it up here. We're going to measure it across the battery. We can do the same thing if we want to measure the voltage across the resistor. We put one wire here, one wire on the other side, and the same idea. Positive would go to positive, our negative side would go to our negative side when we get our reading. So this looks like it's about 2.4 volts. So voltage you measure across a resistor or across a battery. For current, it's a little different. Current you want to measure through the circuit. So we just set that up, the voltage, so that it's in parallel. But if I want to measure current, well, first of all, I need to use an ammeter. Remember, amps measure coulombs per second, so this is current. Now there's a few different options you can go with here. First, try the lowest setting. So what we want to do is our negative, instead of going across it, remember, for voltage, I measured across a battery or across a resistor. This one we want to go right through it. So we want the current to actually run through this. So how do we make that happen? Well, we actually have to disconnect our battery and hook it up so that it's running the current, if you follow a path, goes right through the ammeter and then back along the circuit. Now you can try the different sensitivities. This is telling you it's way too sensitive. This looks pretty good. So let's read what that's saying. So we have three different options for where to put our positive lead. We can put it here, we can put it here, or we can put it here. So it's usually best to start with the one on the farthest right. This is saying 5 amps. So it's reading, if the needle went up to 3, this would be 3 amps. Now the middle one tells us, if we notice, it goes up a lot higher. Okay, so this is moving the decimal over one place. So what this is meaning is it's really hard to see, but it looks by this one, if I look at the bottom set of numbers, it looks as though the number of amps should be around somewhere between 0.1 and 0.2. That needle hardly moves. It's hard to see even in this video. That needle hardly moves. Now if I move it over the sensitivity by 1 decimal place, we can see, okay, that needle moves quite a bit. So this is a lot easier to read than this number. right? So if we look at this number, this would be roughly 0.15 amps, but it's very hard to read. If I move it over here, it helps us figure out what the actual reading is. So now I can find out, okay, that middle row tells me move the decimal place over 1. It's between the number 1 and the number 2, so it's going to be roughly 1.7. So again, you move the decimal. This would be 0.1 amps. Okay, this looks like it's 0.17 amps. This would be moving the decimal place over again, but if you notice, it goes off the ammeter. So the best reading to use is the middle one. This can tell us it's roughly 0.17 amps. If you're having trouble with this, put your hand up and I can come around and explain it to you. So that is how you measure your current and your voltage through and across a resistor.